Chapter 1, Reborn, Miss Sterling. If you don't start treatment immediately, there will be nothing more we can do. A cold voice pulled my thoughts back to the present. Seeing the doctor and my husband, Warren Blackwood, standing by my bed, I realized I had been reborn. Reborn on the very day I was diagnosed with cancer. In my previous life, although I was diagnosed with cancer, it was caught early. With proper treatment, my chances of recovery were high. But my husband and children cried about how poor our family was, subtly and not so subtly pressuring me to give up treatment. In the end, I tearfully nodded, went home with them, and died without receiving care. My husband and children weren't saddened by my death. In fact, less than a week after I was gone, they brought another woman into our home. Her name was Ivy Vance, my husband's college sweetheart, his so-called white moonlight. I never imagined they had stayed in contact all these years. Gracie, I'm so sorry. The company is in debt. I really can't afford it. My husband wept as he held my hand. His sticky, warm tears filled me with disgust. Just as I was about to speak, the door to the hospital room opened, and my son, Wyatt Blackwood, and my daughter, Willow Blackwood, rushed in. Mom, Dad told us you were sick. We were worried to death the whole way here. My children gathered around me, taking my thin hands in theirs. The young doctor glanced at me, sighed, and quietly left the room. Watching the three of them put on this act, I sneered inwardly. Worried about me. More like worried I wouldn't die, I subtly pulled my hands away, my voice cold. Warren, I want to live. At my words, the three of them stopped crying instantly. The noisy hospital room fell silent. Warren shot to his feet, a flicker of anger in his eyes, but he forced his tone to soften. Gracie, stop making a scene. I'm already drowning in debt. Do you really have the heart to burden me with more? I knew he was banking on my deep love for him, certain I wouldn't bear to see him suffer. But I had already seen his true colors. Why would I throw my own life away for him? Wyatt stood up, his tone impatient. Mom, it's not that we're cruel, but the family really doesn't have any extra money. Besides, everything is settled for my wedding with Khloe. If we can't afford the wedding, it'll all fall through. Willow couldn't sit still either, her voice full of blame. Mom, how can you be so selfish? My engagement to Reese Rhodes is just around the corner. If I don't have any money to my name, do you think the Rhodes family will still accept me as their daughter-in-law? As much as Warren's betrayal hurt, the actions of Wyatt and Willow were what truly broke my heart. I had nearly died giving birth to them and had cherished them as they grew up, but in their eyes, my life was worthless. After my death, they would readily accept Ivy Vance as their new mother. My long nails dug into my palms. The sharp pain cleared my muddled thoughts. What's wrong? Are you all just waiting for me to die? The commotion attracted a crowd of onlookers who gathered at the doorway, eager to watch the drama unfold. The three of them, their true intentions exposed, flushed with shame and anger. My children started wailing. Mom, the family is already broke from paying for all your illnesses over the years. Warren beat his chest in anguish. Gracie, are you going to force us to sell our kidneys to pay for your treatment? An older woman pushed her way into the room, her eyes filled with contempt for me. Listen, lady, your husband and kids don't look rich. Why are you being so selfish, pushing them to the brink? Chapter 2. Scheming. Hearing this, I took a closer look at what Warren and the children were wearing. While our family wasn't fabulously wealthy, through our hard work, Warren and I had built a small company. A few years ago, under the guise of letting me enjoy a comfortable life, my husband convinced me to become a full-time housewife. With the children needing care, I agreed to his proposal without a second thought. For years, I'd been a diligent homemaker, but it never earned me their true affection. To save a few $100,000 in medical bills, they were willing to slander me in front of all these people. Seeing them dressed in such cheap clothes today, it was as if they had known all along that I would be diagnosed with a serious illness. At that thought, a shadow crossed my face. How can you be so selfish, making your husband and children go into debt for your treatment? What if the treatment fails and the money's gone? You'd leave them with a mountain of debt. What kind of mother are you? Everyone pointed their fingers at me, as if my desire to live was a crime against nature. Seeing the crowd on their side, Warren and my children shot me a triumphant look. I turned to Warren, my tone laced with sarcasm. As I recall, when we started the company together, I owned a 40% stake, didn't I? Since you claim the company is losing so much money, show me the financial records right now. Warren's face went pale. Willow shot him a look, then stepped forward. Mom, you've been a full-time homemaker for years. What would you know about the company's affairs? Dad is just looking out for you. You shouldn't worry about the company. Willow's words reignited the crowd's fervor, and they began accusing me of being overly suspicious. I looked past them and saw a figure approaching from the back of the crowd. A small, knowing smile touched my lips. All right, Mom, let's just listen to Dad and go home, Willow said, giving me an ultimatum. It was clear they expected me to go home and die. Warren and the others were certain that even if I disagreed, the surrounding condemnation would force me to give up treatment. Just as Warren was forcibly lifting me from the hospital bed, a voice cut through the crowd. President Blackwood, you have to have a conscience. How can you let President Sterling go home to die? The speaker was Felicity Fawcett. When Warren and I were starting the company, I had recognized her talent and taken her under my wing. In my past life, on the way home from the hospital, I had seen Felicity's hesitant expression, as if she wanted to say something. Later, as I was left at home to die, I received a message from her. Big G, you were my benefactor. I can't just watch you die. But not wanting to burden her, I had refused the money she tried to send me. I understood now. At that moment, Felicity must have been threatened by Warren. That's why she had remained silent. I looked at her again. This time, her eyes were resolute, without the indecision of my past life. A thought flashed through my mind. Could Felicity have been reborn too? For the past few years, it was with Big G's secret help that Shangxi Group grew so strong. I can't stand by and watch my benefactor be slandered and left to die. As soon as Felicity finished speaking, the faces of the onlookers who had been supporting Warren's family turned dark. Most people in a city had heard of Shangxi Group. The company was thriving, showing no signs of bankruptcy. The woman who had spoken out against me earlier now rounded on Warren, her voice filled with outrage. So, your wife builds an empire with you, and as soon as it's successful, you cast her aside. You're a real piece of work, scheming to let your own wife just waste away and die. Chapter 3. Divorce. The doctor, who had been afraid of causing trouble, now stepped forward. Although Miss Sterling has been diagnosed with cancer, if she cooperates with treatment now, the success rate is very high. I pushed Warren away and stood before the crowd. I secretly pinched my arm, forcing tears to well up in my eyes. Today, you have all witnessed this heartless, treacherous man and my own heartless children. I turned to face the three of them, my voice rising. Warren, as of today, we are getting a divorce. From now on, I'll get my treatment, you can go find your mistress, and we will have nothing to do with each other. At this, the crowd buzzed with the scent of fresh gossip. I knew it. No man would wish his wife dead, unless he had another woman on the side. And these ungrateful children, I bet their real mother is that mistress. Warren fell to his knees before me, weeping and blaming himself for not telling me the truth about the company. Honey, don't listen to her nonsense. I had my reasons. My children also knelt beside him, each wailing louder than the last. Mom, we were wrong. We were just worried this hospital was trying to scam you. We wanted to take you to a hospital abroad for treatment. That's why we lied. Willow held her phone up for everyone to see. The screen showed an article exposing this very hospital for scamming patients. Oh, really? I gave Willow a cold glance and pulled out my own phone. If it's that serious, then of course we should call the police. Hearing this, a flicker of panic crossed Willow's face. She stood up and tried to snatch my phone, but I gave her no chance, dialing the emergency number immediately. You're in such a hurry to grab my phone. Feeling a little guilty, are we? I grabbed her wrist, stopping her. You can explain the rest to the police, I announced to the crowd. Soon, the wail of sirens filled the air and Willow was taken away by the police. Warren and Wyatt glared at me, but I felt no fear. Warren, this divorce is happening. Fuming, Warren dragged Wyatt away. I turned to Felicity, whose cheeks were flushed. I patted her on the shoulder. Thank you. Felicity bit her lip, her eyes red and swollen. Big G, I'm so sorry. She confessed that in our past life, she had hidden the company's true status to avoid being fired. Big G, I couldn't sleep for weeks. I didn't know they would actually leave you at home to die. Now that I have a chance to atone, I can't let them bully you again. Someone with no blood relation to me knew gratitude, while my own family wished for my death. In comparison, the harm Felicity had caused me in my past life was nothing. All right, take me to the company today. It's been too long. It's time I took back what's mine. As long as I regained control of the company, Warren wouldn't be able to threaten Felicity. Hearing my words, Felicity frowned. Big G, it might be better if you didn't go to the office right now. I understood immediately, but a smile remained on my face. Oh, it seems I absolutely must go today then. As soon as we arrived at the company entrance, a security guard stopped me. Seeing the guard's familiar face, the coldness in my heart intensified. The guard was none other than Ivy Vance's good-for-nothing, lecherous brother, Jude. Chapter 4. President Sterling. In my previous life, on the day Ivy and Warren got married, Jude got drunk and publicly harassed a woman. For Ivy's sake, Warren paid to smooth things over. I couldn't believe someone with such a sordid history was now at Shangxi Group. Ivy Vance certainly had some influence. Felicity stepped out from behind me. She's my cousin. She's here to pick something up. When Jude saw Felicity, his dismissive expression was instantly replaced by a greedy one. Well, if it isn't the beautiful Miss Fawcett's cousin. Please come in. Jude reached out to touch Felicity, but I blocked his hand. If you can't control your hands, I don't mind having the police help you with that. Having a criminal record, Jude flinched at the mention of the police and quickly withdrew his hand, his eyes now filled with a dark resentment. Fearing a bigger scene, Felicity quickly pulled me inside. I followed my memory to the office. The door was ajar, and I could hear movement inside. With Warren at the police station for questioning, it was obvious who was sitting in his office. I curled my fingers and knocked lightly on the door. "Come in," a lazy female voice called out. When the woman inside saw me, a flicker of shock crossed her face. "Who are you? What are you doing here? Get out before I have security drag you out." Ivy pretended not to recognize me and feigned reaching for the phone. I tapped on the desk in front of her and leaned in close. "Stop pretending, Ivy. You've met me before. It's impossible that you don't know who I am." Seeing that her act was failing, Ivy's face flushed with panic for a moment before she regained her nonchalant, dismissive expression. "Oh, it's Mrs. Blackwood. President Blackwood asked me to handle things in his absence today. You may leave. I used to be a powerful career woman and hated being called Mrs. Blackwood. Everyone at Shangxi respectfully called me President Sterling, and Ivy surely knew that. Calling me Mrs. Blackwood was a deliberate taunt. I remained unfazed. Ivy's gaze grew even more contemptuous. "Listen, Mrs. Blackwood, you can't even save your own life, and you dare to come here and covet things that don't belong to you?" The moment she finished speaking, a sharp slap echoed through the office. "You bitch, how dare you hit me?" I stomped my foot down hard on Ivy's right hand. "Ivy, without me, there would be no Shangxi Group. What gives you the right to be so arrogant here?" Years of doing all kinds of housework meant that even though I was unwell, I was more than a match for Ivy. Just as Ivy was struggling to lunge at me, an angry voice boomed from the doorway. "Grace Sterling, have you not caused enough trouble?" Ivy had nothing to do with any of this. Warren rushed over and shoved me to the ground, then cradled Ivy in his arms with a look of deep concern. Felicity rushed to help me up. "Big G, I'm sorry, I couldn't stop him." Seeing the clear handprint on Felicity's face, a surge of rage washed over me. After settling Ivy down, Warren raised his hand to strike me, but he froze when I pulled out a paring knife. "Warren, you hit me and see what happens. I don't mind taking you all down with me. I don't have long to live anyway. Taking you two with me wouldn't be a bad deal." Chapter 5. Showdown. As for you, the dream of wealth you've waited so long for will be shattered. I toyed with the paring knife, tracing it lightly over Ivy's delicate face while my other hand held her firmly in place. "President Sterling, I was wrong. Please don't kill me." Ivy trembled violently, looking as if she might collapse at any moment, which made Warren's heart ache. "Grace, what do you want me to do to let Ivy go?" I played with the sharp knife, my voice calm. "I just want what's mine." Warren glanced at the pitiful-looking Ivy and finally sighed, taking a step back. I patted Ivy's cheek with the back of the knife and let out a sarcastic tusk. "So what if you're his white moonlight? In his eyes, you'll never be as important as money." Ivy's face flushed with anger. "If it weren't for you, Warren wouldn't treat me like this." I ignored Ivy and turned my attention to Warren. "Warren, if you don't divorce me and give her a proper title, even I will look down on you." "Honey, stop this." Let's just go home, okay? Warren pleaded, then kicked Ivy, who was still on the floor. Security, get this woman out of here. Security guards quickly arrived and, ignoring Ivy's screams, dragged her away. There, honey. Are you satisfied now? I pressed the paring knife against Warren's cheek, a slight curve on my lips. You know, I think I enjoy being a CEO much more than being a housewife. Ignoring Warren's dark expression, I called for a shareholders meeting. As expected, I faced considerable resistance when I announced my intention to return to the company. President Sterling, we believe President Blackwood is a more suitable leader for Shangxi than you are, one man declared, his eyes filled with disdain. His statement was met with a chorus of agreement. That's right, President Sterling. The company has prospered under President Blackwood's leadership. For you to come back and try to take over his responsibilities seems a bit presumptuous. Their eyes were filled with scorn and derision as they practically worshipped Warren, completely forgetting that without me, none of them would be in their current positions. Warren basked in their praise, a hint of contempt in his voice. Gracie, you should stay out of company affairs. I tapped my fingers on the table, facing their provocations and ridicule with calm composure. Oh, really? As I spoke, the company's performance data from the past few years appeared on the screen behind me. The first few items highlighted the flawed strategies Warren had implemented. I can vouch for President Sterling. The screen continued to scroll, displaying improved, brilliant proposals. Even though President Sterling was away from the company, she always provided solutions whenever we encountered problems with our projects. Without her, can you imagine the losses Shangxi Group would have suffered with these flawed plans? I think you all know the answer to that. As Felicity finished speaking, the expressions of the shareholders changed. All these years, I had kept a close eye on the company's development. But 3 months ago, I started feeling unwell, suffering from frequent headaches and discomfort, so I had to step back. It was during this time that Warren took advantage, leading me to believe the company was in financial ruin. Now, I believe everyone understands who truly deserves to sit in this chair. Chapter 6. This is just the beginning. I curled my lip and cast a mocking glance at Warren. Faced with his own incompetence, and under pressure from the other shareholders, Warren had no choice but to step down, however reluctantly. He leaned in and whispered in my ear, "Grace, is this fun for you? Using the shareholders to force my hand? How ridiculous." I was only using his own tactics against him, and he was already this upset. I simply replied, "Don't be so anxious. This is just the beginning." Then, under Warren's venomous glare, I took my seat at the head of the table. Just then, a shrill shout echoed through the office building. "Grace Sterling, you dare come to the company and force out my son? You're nothing but a country bumpkin, utterly classless. You've turned our home upside down, and now you want to steal my son's company." The newcomer was my mother-in-law, Eleanor Blackwood. Back when we first met, she prided herself on being a city woman and always looked down on me for coming from a small town. At the time, I was deeply in love with Warren and married him without regret, enduring this old hag's constant torment. Fortunately, with my own intelligence and hard work, I managed to build a small company and earn some money, which finally made her see me in a better light. But I never imagined that no matter how much money I gave her, she would still look down on me. I gave Eleanor a cold look. She was dressed in a mink coat, dripping with gold and silver like a nouveau rich caricature. How laughable. In my past life, I toiled for this entire family, letting them bleed me dry. Now they were all adorned in luxury, yet they wouldn't even spare $300,000 for my chemotherapy. Eleanor Blackwood, I think you, more than anyone else here, know who founded Shangxi Group. In the beginning, when I tried to convince Warren to start a business, he was hesitant and indecisive. Eleanor had mocked me for being a daydreamer and constantly complained about me to the neighbors. But when I actually succeeded, they both changed their tune, doing a complete 180 in their attitude toward me. And now, they both wanted to take what I had painstakingly built. They could dream on. "Mom, that's enough. Gracie is sick and not in a good mood. Don't provoke her any further," Warren said, desperately signaling to Eleanor with his eyes, terrified that I would divorce him on the spot and take half of their assets. Eleanor understood, but her disdainful gaze remained fixed on me. "All right, let's not air our dirty laundry in public. Grace, whatever issues you have, go home and discuss them properly with Warren." If I went home, I would lose control of the situation. I gave Felicity a subtle look, and soon, several large bodyguards appeared. "I'll see you at City Hall." I shot Warren a defiant smile and left the conference room. Before Warren could react, the bodyguards had bundled him into a car. Soon, we were at the marriage registration office to file for divorce. "I don't agree to a divorce, ma'am. Please, have a heart. Help me talk some sense into my wife," Warren pleaded with the young clerk. The young woman looked principled and was about to try and mediate, but she gasped when she got a good look at my condition. "Ma'am, do you wish to proceed with this divorce?" she asked me. I nodded and signaled for the bodyguards to keep a close watch on Warren. The clerk gritted her teeth and turned to Warren with a scoff. "Stop the sappy act and sign the papers." Chapter 7. Cutting ties in the end, Warren was forced to sign the divorce papers and stormed out in a rage. "Thank you, miss," I said to the clerk with a smile. Without her help, this wouldn't have gone so smoothly. The young woman scratched her head, looking apologetic. "You don't have to thank me. I just can't stand seeing women suffer for so long in bad marriages without being able to leave." I felt a pang of emotion. The world may be full of wicked people, but there are always good ones too. "I'm sorry, but the mandatory cooling-off period is required by law. I can't help you with that." I said goodbye to the young woman and got into my car. "President Sterling, where to now?" I stared straight ahead, a smile playing on my lips. "Home, of course." If I didn't go home, how would I get back what's mine and avenge the deep-seated hatred from my past life? Soon, I was knocking on the door of my own house. Wyatt opened the door, his eyes full of blame. "You have the nerve to come back? Willow just got back from the police station. Her boyfriend found out, and now he's trying to break up with her. And Dad is being cursed out by everyone. How can a malicious woman like you be my mother?" Wyatt's voice drew the others out. The moment Willow saw me, she looked like she wanted to tear me to shreds. "You ruined my future. Reese refuses to get engaged to me now, and it's all your fault. If you have cancer, why don't you just die quietly instead of ruining my life?" Seeing Willow's vicious expression, my heart clenched. I never thought the daughter I had raised and cherished in my arms could say such cruel words. I swallowed the bitterness in my throat, my voice hoarse. "Willow, from this day forward, I, Grace Sterling, have no daughter." The commotion brought Warren out of a room, his face contorted with rage. He raised his fist to hit me, but the bodyguards, who had been hiding on either side of the door, stepped in to protect me. Forced to lower his fist, Warren glared at me with pure hatred. "Grace, I've given you everything you wanted. What more do you want?" Seeing him so flustered brought me immense satisfaction. "I want everything that belongs to me back, including this house." I had been able to afford this villa early in my career, long before I brought Warren into the company. Since I had bought this house with my own blood, sweat, and tears, why should I let these ungrateful wolves have it? "Grace, even if you hate me, you can't abandon your own children. You're their mother. Are you really going to watch them become homeless?" Warren yelled, pointing at me in disbelief. Wyatt and Willow finally reacted, their faces a mixture of shock and confusion. "Mom, you can't kick us out." Now they remembered I was their mother. Too late. I would have gotten more loyalty from a dog. Willow's eyes darted around, and she tried to throw herself into my arms to play the victim. I sidestepped her neatly. She stumbled and fell flat on her face, her pretty face twisting into an ugly grimace. She looked so much like me, yet her heart was so cold. "I'm not fit to be your mother. From now on, I'll just pretend I never had you." Chapter 8. The necklace. Before they could react, I ordered the bodyguards into the villa to clear out all of their belongings. Warren and the others struggled, trying to get inside to demand an explanation, but I locked the door on them. I gave the bodyguards their instructions, and finally, the three of them, along with their bags, were thrown out onto the street. I had the locks changed immediately, which brought me a small measure of peace. But I couldn't relax completely. Although I had worked hard and endured much for my career, there was no history of cancer in my family. And their behavior at the hospital, as if they had expected me to be diagnosed with a terminal illness, was suspicious. Full of doubt, I began to search the house, room by room, but found nothing out of the ordinary. Just as I was about to give up, a wooden box on my dresser caught my eye. It was exquisitely crafted, inlaid with sparkling blue sapphires that shimmered even in the dim light. It was a gift from Warren on our 10th wedding anniversary. I had always loved ornate things, and since this box was a personal gift from him, I had cherished it, holding it every day. I suddenly remembered what Ivy had said. The incident at the hospital had been so chaotic that Warren couldn't have had time to update her. Otherwise, she wouldn't have been so calm when she first saw me. I picked up the wooden box. Its cold, eerie glow illuminated my grim face, making it look terrifying. "Miss Sterling, this gemstone is laced with a large amount of radioactive material. Long-term exposure could very well induce cancer." The dark truth was finally revealed. Staring at the lab report, my heart, already frozen, felt nothing. I clutched the wooden box tightly and got into my car. "Hello, could you please remove the gemstones from this box? I want to have them made into a necklace." Soon, I had the finished necklace in hand. With my goal accomplished, I got back in my car and discreetly followed Warren to an apartment complex. Sure enough, Ivy Vance walked out of the building. The moment she saw Warren, her face soured with anger and frustration. "What are you doing here? Don't you only care about that old hag at home and your precious company?" Hearing her complaints, Warren obsequiously caught the fist she was about to throw at him. "Ivy, my dear, I'm doing all of this for you. I can't divorce her yet, or I'll lose half of everything. Once she's dead, I'll marry you in style, and you'll never have to suffer again." Warren's words instantly quelled most of Ivy's anger. "Well, you'd better hurry up. I can't stand being with that good-for-nothing for another day." The good-for-nothing she was referring to was her husband, Simon Hale, an honest and hardworking mechanic. To give Ivy a better life, Simon worked from dawn till dusk, finally managing to buy an apartment in a city. It was during his long absences that Ivy and Warren had started their affair. There, don't be angry. I managed to get you a very expensive necklace from one of those high society ladies to apologize. Look, do you like it?" Warren opened a box, revealing the necklace made from the radioactive gemstones. Ivy's eyes were instantly captivated by the beautiful piece. "All right, I forgive you." With that, she playfully reached into his pocket. Aroused by her touch, Warren eagerly wrapped his arm around her waist and led her upstairs. I stopped the recording on my phone, rolled up the window, and drove home. I didn't expect to see Wyatt's girlfriend, Khloe Quinn, waiting at my doorstep when I arrived. Chapter 9, Evidence. Khloe gave me a shy smile when she saw me. "Auntie, it's Wyatt's birthday today. I wanted to surprise him." Seeing Khloe's innocent and naive expression, I couldn't help but sigh. Such a wonderful girl was a complete waste on my heartless son. "Wyatt isn't here. If you're looking for him, try apartment 1503 at the Northgate Gardens complex." Khloe didn't say anything, simply turning to leave. I couldn't help but call out to her. "I heard your family is demanding an $800,000 bride price for you to marry Wyatt." Surprise, followed by a flash of anger, crossed Khloe's face. "Auntie, I may come from a rural area, but my parents and I are reasonable people. We would never demand such an exorbitant bride price as a condition for marriage. Whatever you give as a bride price, my family would provide a dowry of almost equal value. Why would we ask for $800,000? Hearing this, my hands gripped the railing beside me until my knuckles turned white. Wyatt had the audacity to pin this lie on Khloe. The exorbitant bride price was just another excuse he had fabricated to pressure me into dying. Pushing down my emotions, I looked at Khloe. "Khloe, Wyatt has been lying to you. He's not worthy of your affection." Khloe stood stunned for a moment, but she still politely said goodbye before heading to Northgate Gardens. After going inside, I pulled out my phone and dialed an unfamiliar number. "Simon Hale, I need to talk to you about a collaboration." There was a moment of silence on the other end. Just as he was about to hang up, I added with a smirk, "It's about your wife, Ivy Vance." As expected, upon hearing Ivy's name, Simon agreed to meet. I had just arrived at our meeting spot when I saw Simon rush in, still in his work clothes, covered in grease stains and smelling strongly of gasoline. "Sorry, I came in a hurry and didn't have time to change." "You mentioned my wife today. Is something wrong?" Seeing the anxiety in his eyes, I felt a twinge of envy for Ivy to have someone love her so deeply. When I thought back on my time with Warren, I couldn't recall a single sweet moment. He only ever showed me a sliver of concern when he needed something from me. Snapping back to the present, I placed my phone in front of Simon. The screen showed a man and a woman in a compromising position. Simon's face instantly darkened. Before he could speak, I said coldly, "My husband and your wife are having an affair. I need your help to gather some evidence." The divorce cooling-off period was 1 month. During this time, I had to collect as much evidence of Warren's infidelity as possible. He wouldn't get a single penny of our assets. I couldn't plant cameras in Ivy's home by myself, but Simon could. Simon listened, his expression grim, and nodded. Just as I was leaving to head home, I received a message from him. It was a video of Ivy and Warren entangled together. I'm often away for work, so I installed a micro camera at home to ensure Ivy's safety. I usually don't check it, but after your warning today, I discovered she's been cheating on me for who knows how long. I copied the dozens of videos Simon sent me onto a USB drive. It was only then that I learned Ivy and Warren's affair had begun the year I was pregnant with Wyatt. Chapter 10. Kidnapping. Even though my heart had turned to stone for Warren, I still felt a dull ache. While I was in the hospital, hemorrhaging from a difficult childbirth and writhing in agony, the man I loved most had used the excuse of an urgent company matter to hang up the phone and run off to be with his white moonlight. Tears blurred my vision. Just as I was on the verge of breaking down, I saw a familiar figure up ahead. I quickly got out of the car, intending to grab Khloe's arm, but she grabbed me instead and started running. "Auntie, run, some thugs are chasing me." Hearing this, I quickly pulled her into a nearby dumpster with me. "What on earth happened?" I whispered, looking at Khloe's terrified face. Hadn't she gone to celebrate Wyatt's birthday? Why was she back alone and being chased by thugs? Khloe shook her head frantically, but the voices outside explained everything. "Useless trash, you get paid and can't even catch one girl? You lost her." That voice was all too familiar. I couldn't believe Wyatt had hired thugs to kidnap Khloe. A few hours later, when everything was quiet, Khloe and I climbed out of the filthy dumpster. Without a word, I floored the accelerator and drove her home. "What happened between you and Wyatt?" Khloe took the glass of water I offered her and recounted what had happened when she went to find Wyatt. "Auntie, I remembered what you said about the $800,000 bride price. When I confronted him, Wyatt just said that my family's house was going to be demolished for a government project anyway, so a $2 million dowry wouldn't be a big deal. I couldn't take it anymore and decided to break up with him. I never thought he'd hire a group of thugs to kidnap me." I was stunned by her story. In my past life, because I had given in to their wishes and died, I never knew about this. No wonder the cold-hearted Wyatt was so intent on marrying Khloe. He was after her family's resettlement money. Khloe watched my expression as she cried, afraid that I would betray her because Wyatt was my son. I patted her shoulder reassuringly. "Don't worry, I've already divorced Warren. Wyatt and Willow have nothing to do with me anymore." It was clear that staying at my villa was the safest option for her. Khloe finally let her guard down, her face filled with indignation. "I dated Wyatt for 4 years. I never imagined he was this kind of person," I said simply. "I'll help you get revenge." That night, after I had settled in, I opened the surveillance feed Simon had given me access to. As soon as I turned it on, I heard Ivy's coquettish voice. "Don't worry, Simon said he has to work overtime for the next few days. He won't be back." Warren sighed in relief and gently tapped her nose. "Warren dear, I saw this gorgeous purse recently. It's $150,000. Won't you buy it for me?" Ivy's cloying voice completely captivated Warren. He didn't hesitate for a second, immediately transferring $300,000 to her. I watched with a cold smile. Warren and I weren't officially divorced yet, which meant the money he was spending on Ivy was our joint marital property. On the day the divorce was finalized, not only would she have to return this $300,000, but every single cent Warren had ever spent on her would have to be paid back. Chapter 11. The $2 million dowry. A few peaceful days passed. Simon managed to go home and sent me screenshots of all the transaction records between Ivy and Warren over the years. I was shocked to find that Warren had given Ivy over $3 million. Just as I was saving all the evidence to a USB drive, there was a series of frantic knocks on the door. "Khloe, come out, I know you're in there." Hearing Wyatt's voice, Khloe trembled with fear. I calmly walked to a second-floor window and saw Wyatt with a group of thugs, shouting shamelessly at the front gate. "Grace Sterling, if you still want me to be your son and take care of you in your old age, you'll bring Khloe out here right now." I shot a reassuring glance at Khloe, who was hiding in a corner, then called down to Wyatt coldly, "Take care of me in my old age." "Wyatt, have you forgotten I have cancer? I don't have long to live. What's there to take care of?" My sarcastic tone made Wyatt's face turn purple with rage. After a moment, his own cutting tone returned. "Grace Sterling, just because you're dying, you have to drag Willow and me down with you? How could we have such a venomous mother?" I had no patience for his tirade and signaled for the security guards to get rid of him. But just then, Khloe's aunt appeared behind Wyatt. "Khloe, your aunt has already agreed to us being together. Are you really going to back out now?" As Wyatt finished speaking, the woman behind him, Khloe's aunt, stepped forward, looking as if she wanted to scream at Khloe. "Khloe, you shameless girl, you've already been slept with. You're worthless now, aren't you ashamed of embarrassing your parents?" Hearing her aunt's insults, Khloe couldn't help but tremble. Seeing the crowd gathering at the gate, my eyes darkened. Before long, Khloe's parents arrived, just in time to hear the worst of her aunt's vicious words. Seeing Khloe's parents' simple clothes, her aunt rolled her eyes in disgust. "Brother, you have such a fine young man right here. You should marry your daughter off quickly. If she can't find a husband later, it'll be a huge embarrassment." Hearing this, Khloe's father, Mr. Quinn, slapped his sister across the face. "Brother, how dare you hit me?" Mr. Quinn had always been patient with his sister, who had become spoiled and arrogant. Hearing about the potential resettlement money, she had rushed over to get her share. Seeing Mr. Quinn, Wyatt put on a fawning expression again. Before Wyatt could get close, Mr. Quinn looked at him and said coldly, "Someone like you is not worthy of my daughter." At this, Wyatt dropped all pretense and started shouting, "I have plenty of photos of your daughter. You really think she's some kind of treasure? She's just a cheap slut who's been slept with. Who would marry her without a $2 million dowry?" Wyatt's words were so vile that Khloe's mother fainted from the shock. Finally, escorted by bodyguards, Khloe and I came face to face with them. With a loud slap, my hand struck Wyatt's face. "A child's misdeeds are the parent's fault. Having a son like you is my shame." Wyatt continued to threaten Khloe, and I shot him a cold glare. "Wyatt, you hired people to kidnap Khloe, and now you're threatening to release her private photos. I don't mind letting you cool your head in a police station. With a crime this serious, I imagine you'll be in there for at least 10 years. As I finished speaking, the sound of police sirens filled the air. Chapter 12. The Blackwood family heir. Wyatt finally panicked. Mom, I'm your only son," he cried. "If they take me, aren't you afraid of ending the Blackwood family line?" I couldn't help but laugh coldly. "Wyatt, we're not living in some feudal dynasty anymore. You really think you're an emperor?" Just as I was about to turn away, Eleanor and Willow rushed over. Eleanor shielded Wyatt, her eyes filled with venom. "If you dare take away the only male heir of our Blackwood family, I'll smash my head against this wall and die right here. Then you'll have a death on your hands and have to go to jail too." With that, Eleanor looked at a nearby corner and pretended to charge toward it. I had lived with Eleanor for over a decade. She knew my kind nature. In the past, no matter how much of a scene she made, I would always let it go if she just acted pitiful. I lost my own mother at a young age and craved maternal love. For 20 years, I had treated my mother-in-law like my own mother. But in this new life, I saw her ugly true colors clearly. A mother-in-law is a mother-in-law. She can never be your real mother. I smirked, grabbed her by the collar, and pretended to shove her toward the sharp corner of the wall. "You want to die? Fine, I'll help you." Seeing her forehead about to collide with the wall, Eleanor's legs went weak with fear. "Grace, Wyatt is your son. You raised him with your own 2 hands. Even if it's not for the sake of the Blackwood family line, do you really have the heart to see his life ruined?" Wyatt also began to apologize profusely, trying to awaken what little maternal love I had left with his cries of "Mom." I ruffled Wyatt's messy hair and said softly, "My dear son, the police are almost here, and the evidence is all laid out. I'm afraid you can't deny it." Seeing the despair on his face, I added, as if being helpful, "However, even though all the evidence points to you, if you were to name the person who instructed you, maybe with a little money, you could get out of this completely clean." Hearing this, Wyatt and Eleanor seemed to have the same idea and simultaneously turned to look at a frantic Willow. "Grandma, if you testify that Willow was behind everything, I won't be arrested." Eleanor immediately understood and slapped Willow hard across the face. "It was you little bitch, who instigated this whole thing between your brother and Khloe. Fine, I'll be the one to send you to jail today." Willow clutched her swollen cheek, staring at her brother and grandmother in disbelief. "Grandma, brother, what are you talking about? I admit I don't like Khloe and said some bad things about her, but I had nothing to do with the kidnapping," Wyatt sneered. "Aren't those thugs friends of yours? Well, I never thought you could be so vicious." "Mom, help me. With your help, I can get out of this," Wyatt pleaded, looking up at me with the same hopeful expression he used to have as a child asking for pocket money. Unfortunately for him, it no longer moved me in the slightest. But for Willow, his words were the last straw. She couldn't believe that the grandmother and brother who had always doted on her now wanted her to take the fall and go to prison. I looked at Willow, the coldness in my heart deepening. My foolish daughter. She really thought the Blackwood family were good people. Chapter 13. Sowing discord. Ever since I married Warren, my mother-in-law had consistently shown a preference for sons over daughters. I never agreed with this. I had hoped for a sweet, well-behaved daughter, on whom I could lavish all the maternal warmth I never received as a child. So, although my first child was a boy, Wyatt, I had Willow a year and a half later. They were both Blackwood blood, but Aliner's treatment of them was worlds apart. I had mentioned Aliner's blatant favoritism to my husband many times, but he would just say, "A son is the root of the family. How can he be the same as a daughter?" So, I worked tirelessly, building my business and making money. Also, they would treat Willow better. With the help of my money, Aliner and Warren, wanting to please me, gradually tempered their chauvinistic views. But now, without my support, Willow was at the bottom of the Blackwood family food chain, a target for everyone. I watched the scene of them tearing each other apart and couldn't help but applaud. "Willow, you abandoned the person who loved you most for these two heartless wolves. I just want to ask you one thing, do you regret it?" I thought this would make Willow see Wyatt and Aliner for who they truly were. But I was wrong. Even as they were about to sell her out, she remained stubbornly blind. "Grace Sterling, stop trying to sow discord. If you hadn't started this, Grandma and brother wouldn't be throwing me under the bus. My life is miserable right now, and it's all your fault." Seeing that Willow was a lost cause, I finally snuffed out the last ember of affection I held for her. I watched coldly as Aliner pinned Willow to the ground, her eyes filled with disgust. "You worthless girl, taking the blame for your brother is the least you can do to repay the Blackwood family for raising you." Hearing this, I looked at Willow, who was lying on the ground, crying silently, and let out a scoff. "Oh, I'm so sorry, but the police aren't actually coming." With that, I ordered the bodyguards to throw them out and then welcomed Khloe's family into the villa. "Mrs. Sterling, please rest assured, we know how to separate things. We won't blame you for what Wyatt did," Mr. Quinn said, "but letting him go just like that, I'm worried about my daughter." He glanced at Khloe, his eyes filled with conflict. I nodded in understanding. "Mr. Quinn, I understand your concern. But what Wyatt has done so far isn't enough to ruin his life completely. What we need to do is ensure he never has a chance to get back on his feet. As for the photos, I'm almost hoping he releases them. As long as Khloe denies it, who's to say it isn't an AI deepfake?" My words seemed to put them at ease. After settling them in, I received an address from a private investigator and headed to a French restaurant. "Reese, that whole incident at the hospital was Grace Sterling's fault. If you abandon me too, I'll have nowhere to go." Willow was weeping, clinging to the man in front of her. Surprisingly, this time, Reese Rhodes didn't push her away. "Let's not talk about the past. From now on, I'll be good to you." With that, Reese made an excuse about an urgent matter and left. Seeing that Reese had finally come back to her, Willow was ecstatic. But she didn't know that as soon as Reese left the first-floor dining room, he came straight up to meet me. "President Sterling, I did as you asked and got back together with Willow. About the money." Chapter 14. Better prospects. Reese looked at me, hesitating, but his eyes were filled with greed. That's right. My investigation had revealed that Reese's rich heir persona was a complete fabrication, designed to attract a wealthy heiress. Ironically, he and Willow had both been blind, falling for each other's facades. After the hospital incident, Reese learned the truth about Willow's situation. While her family wasn't poor, they were far too ordinary in a city like this, which is why he had broken up with her. I stood up without giving him so much as a second glance. "Don't worry. You'll get every penny of the $2 million I promised you." With that, I left the second-floor dining area, only to run into Willow, who was just leaving the restaurant. "Grace Sterling, are you following me?" she screeched, her face flushing with anger before morphing into a look of contempt. "Grace Sterling, don't think you can ruin my life by instigating fights with my family and getting a divorce. I'll have you know, I'm going to marry into a wealthy family soon. A frumpy woman like you doesn't deserve to be my mother." I raised an eyebrow, a polite smile fixed on my face. "Is that so? Well then, I wish you and Reese a long and happy life together." If she was so eager to rush to her own ruin, who was I to stop her? I ignored her shouting, got in my car, and drove off. I had just arrived home when I received a message from Felicity. "President Sterling, after investigating, we found that Warren has embezzled over $3 million in company funds." The news put me in a rare good mood. With all the evidence in hand, it would only be a matter of weeks before Warren and I had our final reckoning. To my surprise, at this critical juncture, Ivy Vance submitted her resignation. She slammed her resignation letter on my desk. "Grace Sterling, don't think Warren can't survive without you. I'm telling you, just you wait for your company to go bankrupt." I raised an eyebrow but said nothing, watching as she strutted out of my office with an exaggerated sway. Initially, I hadn't fired Ivy because I was waiting for her to help Warren make a fatal mistake, allowing me to take them both down at once. Her sudden resignation meant I had to change my plans. "President Sterling, Warren has set up a new company called Shinglin Corp. Right across the street from us. Even their business model is almost identical to ours." I nodded calmly, a cold smile touching my lips. It was clear Warren was now openly challenging me, but did he really not know who he was up against? "President Sterling, aren't you worried they'll steal our business?" Seeing the concern in Felicity's eyes, I simply smiled. "Felicity, have you ever heard the saying, 'What goes up must come down'?" Felicity looked confused, clearly not understanding my meaning. But over the next 2 days, as Shinglin Corp's new product launch generated immense buzz, siphoning away Shang-Chi's customers and suppressing our growth, she began to understand. Soon, Warren paraded into my office with his arm around Ivy's waist, purely to provoke me. "Grace Sterling, I told you to stay out of company affairs. You insisted on forcing me out. Now, under my leadership, Shinglin is doing even better than Shang-Chi. If you just swallow your pride and apologize, maybe I'd be in a good enough mood to let you lose with some dignity, for the sake of our 20-something years of marriage. After all, I still own half of this company. I'd rather not lose a fortune just because Shang-Chi goes bankrupt." His words were dripping with sarcasm, but instead of getting angry, I leisurely sipped my tea. Some of the older employees, however, couldn't sit still. One stood up. "President Sterling, we trusted you, and for what? Shang-Chi is being crushed by Shinglin, our stock is plummeting. You're going to run this company into the ground." His outburst encouraged several other employees to jump ship and side with Shinglin, leaving only one employee who remained unmoved. "Aren't you interested in better prospects?" I asked him. Chapter 15. Betrayal. Leo Hawthorne's expression remained unchanged at my question. "President Sterling, I may not be a veteran employee of Shang-Chi Group, but since the company has invested in me, I will not betray it." Hearing his words, the employees who had just defected flushed with shame. But at their age, career prospects were often more important than pride. Ivy looked at me, now nearly alone, her tone thick with ridicule. "Grace Sterling, who are you putting on this unbothered act for? When you and Warren divorce, don't even think about interfering in the Blackwood family's affairs." She raised her eyebrows, speaking as if she were already the lady of the Blackwood household. Felicity couldn't stand it and retorted, "Even if Shang-Chi is struggling right now, at least our President Sterling doesn't go around seducing other people's husbands." Ivy's face turned crimson, but she couldn't think of a comeback. Seeing his beloved being insulted, Warren wrapped his arm around her and led her away, tossing one last remark over his shoulder. "Grace Sterling, don't come crying to me in the future." As they left, the vast office was empty except for Felicity and me. My gaze fell on Leo Hawthorne. He looked to be around Warren's age and had joined Shang-Chi the same year as Ivy. After all these years, he was still just a regular manager, but I had seen the proposals he had written and was impressed by his talent. "Leo, you are a great asset to Shang-Chi, and your loyalty to the company, even when it's facing a downturn, is admirable." Despite my praise, Leo's expression remained calm, as if he were indifferent to fame and fortune. I've decided to put you in full charge of the next product design. I hope that you and Felicity won't disappoint me. Putting him in charge of a new product launch was a sign of my immense trust in him. If he could prove his abilities, a promotion of several levels was not out of the question. A glimmer of excitement finally appeared in Leo's eyes as he accepted the assignment and left my office. After he was gone, my expression finally darkened. Felicity looked worried. "President Sterling, are you sure you want me to assist Leo with the new product design?" In the past, I had always worked on such important projects with Felicity. My decision to step back this time had understandably made her nervous. "Felicity, I never do anything I'm not sure about. Besides, I need you for what comes next." I whispered a few instructions in her ear, then turned my attention back to Ivy's activities. "President Sterling, don't worry, I haven't revealed my hand to Ivy yet." Over the next few days, Warren seized every opportunity to suppress Shang-Chi. Most of our employees were already anticipating the company's bankruptcy. A group of newly hired employees even came to me directly. "President Sterling, if we continue to do nothing, Shang-Chi will be finished." I looked at these young faces, who had remained at their posts even knowing the company was in jeopardy. Amid the murmurs of discussion, I slowly stood up. "The design for our new product line is almost complete. When it launches, we will undoubtedly turn the tables." I turned to look at Leo Hawthorne, a knowing smile on my face. "Isn't that right, Manager Hawthorne?" After that meeting, Leo, as expected, delivered a brilliant new clothing design proposal. Everyone at Shang-Chi was eagerly awaiting the product launch, hoping for a comeback. However, on the eve of our scheduled launch, Shinglin Corp released a new line of products with the exact same designs. The entire company was in an uproar. I turned my gaze to Leo. He noticed me looking at him but continued to argue his innocence. "President Sterling, I believe there must be a traitor in the company. Although I was in charge of this design, I wasn't the only one working on it." With that, Leo looked at Felicity, the implication clear. Chapter 16. Punishment. "Leo, what nonsense are you spouting? President Sterling is my benefactor. I would never betray her." Felicity, suddenly accused, became flustered and agitated. Seeing this, the other employees assumed she was guilty. However, since Felicity was my right-hand woman, no one dared to openly accuse her, despite their suspicions. Just then, Leo spoke again, offering what he claimed was proof of her betrayal. "No wonder I saw you sneaking a copy of the design sketches to your desk the other day. That must have been when you secretly sent photos of the designs to Warren." At his words, someone went to check Felicity's desk. Sure enough, an employee found a draft of the design proposal hidden there. As a fashion design company, we were extremely strict about the confidentiality of our sketches. All design documents were to be kept in a secure location and were never to be taken out. Now, the most confidential sketches had been found at Felicity's desk. No one would believe she was innocent. With the evidence laid bare, everyone looked at Felicity with contempt. After all President Sterling has done for her, she still wasn't satisfied. To betray her like this, what an ungrateful wretch. Despite the accusations, Felicity continued to profess her innocence. "President Sterling is my benefactor. Besides, I have no motive to betray Shang-Chi. You all saw how President Blackwood treated me when he was here. He couldn't stand me. Why would I risk everything to help him?" Her words silenced the room for a few seconds. What she said did make sense. Just then, Jude Vance stepped out from the back of the crowd, his eyes gleaming with greed. "Felicity Fawcett, you sold out Shang-Chi and gave the designs to my sister just so you could marry me." Although Jude had gotten his job through Ivy, she was well aware of his character and, wanting to secure her position with Warren, had kept their relationship a secret at the company. By revealing their connection now, Jude was clearly betting that after this product launch, Shang-Chi would be crushed by Shinglin. And everyone knew that Ivy was set to become the chairwoman of Shinglin Group. With this in mind, it was no longer surprising that Felicity would stoop so low to climb the social ladder by attaching herself to Jude. Seeing the smug look on Jude's face, I remained calm, even as Felicity and I were surrounded by hostility. Soon, reporters swarmed the building. From a distance, I could see the triumphant smiles on Ivy and Warren's faces. "President Sterling, what is your comment on Shangxi Group's plagiarism of Shinglin Corp's designs? We understand that the design leak was an act of betrayal by one of your own employees, a long-term employee who has been with you for 8 years. What will be her punishment? The reporters, sensing a huge story, swarmed forward, eager for details. Amid the curious and suspicious gazes, I calmly took the microphone offered to me. At the same time, the large screen behind me lit up. The first image was a conversation between Ivy and Jude. "Don't worry, sis. I smashed all the security cameras in the company. There's no way they can trace it back to us. We'll just pin the blame on Felicity. That way, you get what you want and I get the girl." Seeing this, Ivy, Warren, and Jude realized something was wrong and tried to slip away in the confusion. But I wasn't about to let them escape. I ordered my bodyguards to apprehend them. The screen then switched to a video of Leo Hawthorne sneaking out of the design studio, a piece of paper clutched in his hand. Sharp-eyed members of the audience recognized the paper as the design sketch for the new product launch. Chapter 17. Inheriting cultural heritage, the video feed changed again, showing Leo taking a picture of the design sketch and then surreptitiously stuffing it into a folder at Felicity's workstation. The truth was now undeniable. Leo, Ivy, and the others had never imagined that I had been planning a counterattack from the very beginning. "No, this is impossible, President Sterling. How did you know?" Leo collapsed to the floor in defeat. He couldn't believe that this had all been a trap I had set. The screen changed once more, this time displaying a photo of Leo and Ivy from their university days. In the picture, Leo was kneeling, his gaze fixed on Ivy with utter devotion. I looked at the speechless Leo, my smile colder than ever. "Leo, did you really think I would trust you completely just because you stayed loyal to the company? I've known about your relationship with Ivy for a long time. As Ivy's devoted simp, how could you bear to see her suffer?" Ivy's face turned as black as a pot. She had intended to use Leo to bring down Shangxi, but she had never told Warren the true nature of their relationship. Now, with their affair exposed in front of Warren, I knew that even if he was deeply infatuated with Ivy, this would forever be a thorn in his side. As expected, Warren shook off Ivy's hand and tried to win me back. "Honey, you can have this new product design. Please, don't be angry with me anymore." I coldly brushed his hand away. "President Blackwood, while we may not be officially divorced yet, we will be going our separate ways soon. It's best we maintain a proper distance." The sound of camera shutters filled the air as reporters captured Warren's pathetic state and my calm composure. I raised the microphone again. "Besides, this new design is far too plain and uninspired. When I, Grace Sterling, create a design, it will be the best." As I finished speaking, the image on the screen behind me changed. It now displayed a series of stunning classical gowns inspired by traditional Han and Qing dynasty fashion, in shades of pale blue with intricate purple and white embroidery. The audience was captivated by the exquisite, porcelain-like beauty of the dresses. As our nation has developed, we have created new cultures and fashion trends. More and more of our traditional designs have faded from the public eye, replaced by mass-produced, cookie-cutter fashion. As leaders of a new era, we must stay true to our roots and carry forward our cultural heritage. On the screen, a group of vibrant young women walked through classical alleyways, dressed in the beautiful Han and Qing-inspired clothing. Their grace, innocence, and youthful energy gave a new meaning to traditional style. Many of the young women in the audience were visibly delighted. "Those clothes are gorgeous. I've always dreamed of wearing something like that." With the help of the media coverage, Shangxi's new traditional clothing lines sold out almost instantly. Meanwhile, Shinglin Corp was found guilty of corporate espionage. When Alina heard that I had sent Warren to prison, she was so furious she almost fainted. It took a great deal of effort for her to bail her son out. Ivy, on the other hand, received a suspended sentence after it was discovered she was pregnant. I saw Warren again 2 weeks later. He was unshaven and haggard, a far cry from his former confident self. "Gracie, are you really going to divorce me? You know that if we divorce, you'll have to give me half of all the money Shangxi has made recently." Chapter 18. "Mom, I was wrong even on the brink of ruin. Warren was still obsessed with getting his hands on my money. After everything he had done, his first thought wasn't to apologize, but to find a way to take my assets." Seeing the calculating glint in his eyes, I couldn't help but laugh. Warren, after all the terrible things you've done, you still think you have the right to a share of the money. I'm telling you now, you won't get a single cent. Ignoring his venomous glare, I handed over all the evidence of his affair with Ivy, including the transaction records and videos, to my lawyer. With irrefutable proof, the court ruled that Warren had to leave the marriage with nothing. He was even ordered to pay me $1.5 million as compensation for his unauthorized use of our joint marital assets. After that, the divorce was finalized. I got custody of both Willow and Wyatt, transferred to Warren, and reclaimed everything that was mine. As I was comfortably sipping red wine on my sofa, I received a message from Reese Rhodes. I immediately got up, put on a coat, and headed out, not wanting to miss the next act of the drama. "Reese, I'm pregnant with your child, you can't leave me." In a secluded corner of the restaurant, Willow was clinging to Reese's clothes, sobbing. It was clear she wouldn't leave until he agreed to stay with her. Annoyed by her crying, Reese shoved her to the ground. "Willow, I was just playing around with you. Did you actually take it seriously? We're both the same. You're a gold digger looking for a rich husband, and I'm looking for a rich heiress. Now that the Blackwood family has disowned you, what's the point of being with you? Are we supposed to live on air?" Willow froze, her face a mask of disbelief. Then, as if finally understanding, she struggled to her feet and lunged at him. Her long nails scratched his cheek, and the sharp pain made Reese lose control. He pushed her away forcefully. Willow stumbled backward and crashed into a nearby table. Her abdomen, not yet showing any signs of pregnancy, slammed hard against the sharp corner. Her face went pale, and she collapsed to the floor. A pool of blood spread from beneath her dress. "Help me," she whispered weakly to Reese. But he, terrified of getting involved, had already fled. Only then did I step out from the shadows. "Willow, I'll ask you one last time, do you regret it?" But she had already passed out from the pain. When she woke up, she was in the hospital. The moment she saw me, a flicker of hatred crossed her eyes, but she quickly suppressed it. "Mom, I was wrong." I raised my hand and gently stroked her hair, just as I used to when she was a child who had misbehaved. Seeing her face, so much like my own, I couldn't help but feel a pang of pity. If she could truly change and stand by my side, I was willing to give her one last chance. I held my sobbing daughter in my arms, my emotions in turmoil. "Willow, don't let your mother down again." Once she had recovered, I brought her back to the villa. For a while, Willow was on her best behavior, even eagerly preparing dinner for me. Everything seemed to be heading in the right direction. As a reward, I gave her a bank card with over $5 million on it. "Felicity Fawcett, you're not Mom's real daughter. Don't you have a home to go to? It's not right for you to always be here." Felicity, who had been enthusiastically putting food on my plate, froze, the piece of beef on her chopsticks hovering in midair. "I'm sorry, I don't have a family." Chapter 19. Felicity Fawcett's theft. After she spoke, Felicity glanced at me nervously. I knew about her family situation. She had been abandoned by her parents as a child and raised by her grandmother, her only relative, who had passed away 3 years ago. After she stood up for me at the hospital, I had brought her to live at the villa, treating her like my own daughter. At this point, our relationship was less like that of a boss and subordinate and more like a mother and daughter. "Willow, stop it, let's just eat." Hearing the displeasure in my voice, Willow fell silent, but I could feel the hatred she had for Felicity. 5 days passed uneventfully. Then, one day, Willow returned to her bedroom and let out a piercing scream. "Mom, my earrings and jewelry are gone." She gritted her teeth and pointed at the earrings Felicity was wearing. "So it was you, Felicity Fawcett. Mom just bought these for me today, and you stole them. Just because Mom took pity on you and let you stay here, you started thinking you were the young lady of the house." Just as Willow raised her hand to slap Felicity, I stepped in and stopped the drama. "President Sterling, I didn't steal anything. One of the maids gave me these earrings. They said they were a gift from you." Felicity frantically took off the earrings, desperately trying to find the maid who had given them to her among the staff. But after a few moments, she couldn't find her. A knowing smirk appeared on Willow's face, and her voice rose. "Still denying it? All the maids are here, and you can't point her out. Besides, these earrings were custom-made for Mom by a top designer in France. They cost $450,000. What makes you, a mere assistant, think Mom would give you such an expensive gift?" Willow's words sealed Felicity's guilt. The other maids looked at her with contempt. Felicity looked up at me, her eyes pleading for me to believe her, but I turned away, my voice cold. Felicity, those earrings were indeed a gift for Willow. Taking without asking is stealing. From today on, you will move out of this villa. Hearing this, Felicity's eyes instantly turned red, but she packed her things and said goodbye. President Sterling, thank you for your care during this time. As Felicity's figure disappeared into the distance, Willow's smile widened. See, Mom, I told you, she's just an employee. How could she be as devoted as your own daughter? Willow greedily pocketed the blue and white diamond earrings. I simply smiled and said nothing. A short while later, Willow brought me a glass of warm milk, as she did every night, wished me good night, and went to her room. The moment the door closed, I poured the milk into a potted plant on the balcony. It had been a full month since Willow moved back in. Looking at the wilting cactus, I smiled coldly, saved the evidence, and left the villa through a secret passage in my bedroom. Felicity Fawcett, did you really think you could escape me? Jude Vance, holding a wooden stick, surrounded Felicity with a group of thugs. Chapter 20, Drugging Jude, how did you know I was here? Seeing Felicity's panicked expression, Jude burst out laughing. Well, that's thanks to Willow, of course. He then pulled someone out from behind him. Felicity immediately recognized the person as the maid who had given her the earrings. Felicity, Grace Sterling has abandoned you. Just give up and come with me. Jude reached his grimy hands toward Felicity, but a tall figure appeared and threw him to the ground. Who the hell dares to ruin my fun? Hess, that would be me. Several bodyguards cleared a path for me. I walked over to Felicity, took off my blazer, and draped it over her shoulders. Grace Sterling, how are you here? You're supposed to be. I stomped my foot hard on Jude's filthy hand, my voice icy. I'm supposed to be drugged and passed out in the villa. Is that it? You people never learn. You already lost at the product launch, and now you dare to provoke me again. Ignoring Jude's screams, I had my men take him and the evidence I had recorded to the police. Jude had just been released and was still on probation. Now, with an attempted rape charge, he would likely never see the outside of a prison again. Felicity threw herself into my arms, sobbing. President Sterling, I thought you had really abandoned me. I gently tucked a stray strand of hair behind her ear, my eyes filled with affection. There, I know you're a good kid. You were so loyal to me, how could I ever let you be wronged? After making sure Felicity was safe, I drove back to the villa. The next morning, I woke up to find Willow sitting by my bed, looking anxious. Mom, are you feeling any better? She then brought me a glass of milk, just like every other day. Mom, they say milk is good for you. If you drink more, maybe you'll recover faster. As I picked up the glass, an unmistakable look of joy flashed in Willow's eyes. Just as she was about to watch me drink it, our housekeeper, Mrs. Wang, called out to her. Willow had to leave the room to sort out some of her things. By the time she returned, my glass was empty. Seeing this, Willow finally relaxed. My dear Willow, Mom has some important things to attend to. If you get bored at home, feel free to go shopping at the nearby mall. I'll take you out for a seafood dinner later tonight. Willow pretended to be excited and hugged me, then watched as I got into my car. As soon as I was out of her sight, I quickly got out, swapped the license plate onto a self-driving car, and watched the surveillance feed on my phone. Sure enough, Willow was hiding in her bedroom, secretly on the phone. Dad, brother, I did what you said. Grace Sterling will be passing by Lakeside Park today. That's when you can create a car accident. It'll be easy to kill her. Perhaps because she thought I had already left, Willow had the phone on speaker. I could clearly hear Warren and Wyatt's vicious words. Don't worry about the rest. Your brother and I will handle it perfectly. By the way, did you give her the drug? Chapter 21, the planned car crash. Hearing Warren's question, Willow quickly replied. Don't worry, Dad. That stupid woman completely trusts me now. She drinks every glass of milk I give her without a second thought. It's a sure thing. Then Wyatt's voice came through the phone. As long as that old hag drinks the drug, she'll pass out in an hour. When the police investigate her death, they'll just assume it was caused by fatigue-induced intermittent coma. Warren and Wyatt's laughter filled the room as if they could already taste victory and my fortune. Willow, you're my sister. Don't worry. As long as you pull this off, I'll make sure to save a room for you in the villa. Willow, instead of getting angry, readily agreed. Dad, brother, don't worry, I understand. Brother is a boy, the root of the Blackwood family, and my future support. I will do everything I can to help you." Hearing Willow's words, my heart clenched. For so many years, I had worked myself to the bone to change my husband and mother-in-law's chauvinistic views and make them treat Willow well. But my most beloved daughter had willingly debased herself, internalizing their toxic ideology. I saved all the evidence and calmly waited for the show to begin. An hour later, at an intersection near Lakeside Park, a violent rear-end collision occurred. A black car slammed into the car in front of it, crushing it. The driver of the black car quickly jumped out and fled. The impacted car, however, burst into flames. Seeing the charred body in the fire, Willow pushed through the crowd and rushed forward. Mom, we were finally back together, don't die," she wailed, clutching the charred body. The onlookers quickly recognized her. "Isn't that Willow Blackwood, the daughter of the Shangxi Group's chairwoman? I heard Grace Sterling and Warren Blackwood were getting a divorce and that she disowned her children." How pitiful. Even if Willow and Wyatt were in the wrong, they're still her flesh and blood. I can't believe she would just abandon them. With someone leading the charge, the crowd began to murmur disapprovingly of me. If it weren't for the fact that I was now a charred corpse, they probably would have called me a wicked old woman to my face. Willow, a natural actress, took advantage of the crowd's sympathy, forcing out a few tears and playing the part of the filial daughter. I admit I was wrong in the past, but I've been by my mother's side these past few weeks, taking care of her tirelessly to make up for my past mistakes. I never thought she would be in a car accident and just be gone. Her performance brought tears to the eyes of many in the crowd. Someone even came forward to console her. "You poor child. Your mother in heaven will surely forgive you." But before the person could touch Willow, they caught a whiff of something like burning plastic. Confused, they looked at the charred body in Willow's arms and their face changed. "Wait a minute, child. That thing you're holding, is it a mannequin? It smells like burnt plastic." Chapter 22, You and he both deserve to die. Hearing this, Willow finally looked down at the light object in her arms. The sight rendered her speechless. At the same time, the burnt cloth covering the mannequin fell away, revealing its full form. "How can this be? It's a mannequin, not Grace Sterling," Willow blurted out in a panic. The crowd, seeing her angry and frustrated expression, realized something was wrong. "Young lady, are you saying you wish it was your mother who died today?" Struck speechless by the question, Willow frantically shook her head, trying to come up with an excuse. Having seen enough, I stepped out from the back of the crowd and walked right up to her. "My dear daughter, I didn't touch a single drop of the poisoned milk you gave me today." I grabbed her chin, forcing her to look at me. "Mom, it's not what you think, let me explain." "Mom," Willow thrashed about, her eyes darting through the crowd, searching for Warren and Wyatt. I couldn't help but laugh coldly. My foolish daughter. Warren and Wyatt had planned their escape from the moment they orchestrated this car crash. If I didn't die today, the only one going down would be Willow. They had sold her out, and she was still foolishly waiting for them to save her. How pathetic. I gently patted her cheek, shattering her last sliver of hope. "Are you looking for Wyatt and Warren? I'm afraid they abandoned you and ran off long ago." Willow actually looked relieved for a moment, then glared at me. "Grace Sterling, you're right, I was the one who wanted to kill you. I wanted your money. It has nothing to do with my brother or my father." Even at death's door, Willow was still determined to sacrifice herself to protect the root of the Blackwood family. I pushed her to the ground, my voice light. "Who wanted to kill me? I think you should save your explanations for the police." As I spoke, police officers who had been waiting nearby stepped forward and handcuffed her. As she was being led away, I added, "Oh, by the way, Willow, I forgot to tell you. Warren and Wyatt tried to escape, but my people caught them. They're waiting for you at the station for a family reunion." The moment I overheard their plan, I had taken my evidence to the police and prepared for this. In the end, Warren, Wyatt, and Willow were all found guilty of attempted murder and sentenced to life in prison. They would spend the rest of their days behind bars. When Alina heard that I had sent her son and grandson to prison, she dropped the pan she was holding and rushed to my villa. In her haste, she slipped and fell down a flight of stairs, severely injuring herself. When I went to see her in the hospital, she was awake but had suffered a stroke, leaving half of her body paralyzed and unable to speak a complete sentence. "Alina Blackwood, you and Warren are the ones who ruined my life. You and he both deserve to die." The reason Wyatt and Willow had become so selfish was due to Aleener's constant, insidious influence. The old dynasties are long gone, but you stubborn old relic, still cling to your backwards ideas about favoring sons. With that, I left her room and drove to another hospital. Chapter 23, Reborn anew from a distance, I could see Ivy Vance lying weak and frail in her hospital bed. Due to long-term exposure to the radioactive materials, she had developed cancer, and her condition was even more severe than mine had been. When she saw me approaching, her pupils contracted in terror. "Grace Sterling, you bitch, you're not dead." Seeing her face, twisted with rage, I dusted off my clothes and chuckled. "Thanks to you, not only am I not dead, but I also managed to get back all of Warren's assets. So, I suppose I should thank you." Ivy struggled, trying to lunge at me, but she instinctively clutched her stomach, afraid to make any sudden movements. "Heth, you're about to die, and you're still worried about the child in your womb." Her face contorted with even more fury. "Grace Sterling, what do you mean by that? Just because you have cancer and are going to die soon, don't assume everyone will share your fate. If you say another word and cause me to have a miscarriage, Warren will never forgive you." I looked at her pale face and withered limbs and laughed again. "Ivy, oh Ivy, you still don't understand the situation. Warren is in prison, unable to even save himself. How could he possibly have time to care about you?" My gaze shifted from her pale face to the diamond necklace around her neck. "Ivy, you've been wearing that necklace for so long. Didn't you notice anything strange about it? Weren't you the one who picked out that jewel-encrusted wooden box for Warren to give to me?" I paused, then leaned in closer. "Just because it looks a little different now, you don't recognize it." Hearing this, Ivy frantically tore the necklace from her neck, still clinging to a sliver of hope. "Grace Sterling, I'm telling you, I've had checkups every day since I got pregnant. If I had cancer, the doctors would have found it by now." I gently patted her cheek and laughed out loud. "Have you been getting your checkups at Carewell Hospital? I forgot to tell you, I own Carewell Hospital." With that, I turned and walked out of the room, ignoring her hysterical screams. Just as I stepped out, I heard her shriek one last question. "Grace Sterling, why would you do this? I'm carrying a child, are you even human?" As the door closed, I delivered my final words in a cold voice. "The child in your womb is a life. Is my life worthless? Ivy, what's happening to you today is the retribution you deserve." I shut the door firmly, instructed the medical staff to take good care of Ivy, and returned to my villa. "Felicity, thank you for being with me through all of this. I trust you with the company. If I don't make it through this chemotherapy, I want you to take over Shangxi and this house." Now that I had sent all my enemies from my past life to hell, I could finally relax and be myself. Felicity was like a daughter to me, and I was more than willing to leave all my assets to her. Seeing the exhaustion on my face, Felicity's eyes filled with tears. "President Sterling, you will get better." As I was wheeled into the operating room, Felicity stood guard outside, not daring to close her eyes. Perhaps because my past life had been so miserable, this round of chemotherapy was surprisingly successful. Felicity brought me back to the villa and cared for me meticulously. No matter how busy she was with work, she always found an hour or two each day to cheer me up. Under her care, my health quickly returned to normal. A few peaceful days passed. One day, as Felicity was massaging my legs, she hesitated. "Godmother, this man, Liam, he says he likes me. He wants to marry me and have me be a stay-at-home wife." Seeing the conflict in her eyes, I asked calmly, "Felicity, are you truly willing to give up your career to be a housewife?" Felicity shook her head, her expression firm, as if remembering my own story. "No, I'm not. I want to have my own career. Marriage can enhance my life, but it should never be a cage." I nodded, satisfied. Under our joint management, Shangxi Group became a Fortune 500 listed company, and Felicity finally found a partner who was her equal. I stood in my office at the top of the Shangxi Group building, looking down at the city below, my heart filled with emotion. My life had its regrets. I had not found a good partner, but I had achieved my revenge and stayed true to myself. I had lived this life without regrets. Just then, a sweet, childish voice came from behind me. "Grandma, Mommy says it's time to come home for dinner." Looking at the little one, who bore a striking resemblance to me, my heart melted. "Oh, my sweet baby, let's go home." As the sun set, the villa was filled with the warm, happy sounds of my family. Me, Felicity, and her husband and child. This, I thought, was the family and the love I had cherished most in my life. The end.